Yeah, I think excitement. I think we're really happy with where we are at the moment. Still, as I said after the game against North Carolina, needed to make sure that we improve in some areas that we've been working on. We're really proud of obviously the result here at home on the weekend, but we quickly turned the page and made sure we started to focus on Tampa.
You hinted at this with Ray, and it's something you've talked about in the past, the desire to win the regular season. And how much of a motivating factor is that, or is it just that whole every point matters and you are where you are at the end? How much is that something that you always?
Yeah, I think it's more importantly understanding that that every point will matter at the end of the season, and that obviously then dictates how many games you're able to play at Lynn Family Stadium. So we've certainly put an emphasis on that, just because in the past we've seen how it has affected us at the end of the season. But at the same time, taking it week by week and sticking to our process will ultimately put us in a position to where we've put our best foot forward to host as many games as we can. But the guys, I think most importantly, they understand that. They understand the importance of games on the road, and we've made sure that we prepare them as best as we can going into a difficult place and a difficult opponent.
I think you mentioned wanting to improve on some certain things. I think one of the things you mentioned after games are just closing out games. Is that one of them? And what are some of the other areas?
Yeah, I think towards the tail end of a few games this year, we've been under it a little bit more than we would have liked. But that also creates a culture of bite and grittiness that you need in this league, especially when you're on the road. And I just felt against North Carolina with the ball, particularly, we weren't anywhere near where we wanted to be for the last 15-20 minutes of the game, especially watching it back. So we've put an emphasis on that this week, because we have a lot of guys that have a lot of quality with the ball. But then at the same time, the mentality and the bite that we need defensively, that puts us in positions to make sure we're in a spot where we can go win the game.
With Tampa being always a competitive team, they have a good home record, one of the top teams in the East. A little more exciting than some of the other opponents have played. Does your messaging change at all with the team? Do you have to do you emphasize it anymore, or is it just kind of another game on the schedule in terms of
No,
your messaging?
yeah, I think we still have plenty of guys in that locker room that understand the relationship between Tampa and us. We certainly talked about the responsibility that we have wearing this crest, especially when we're playing against Tampa Bay. But I wouldn't say a more emphasis than on other games, because at the end of the day, it's an opponent that we have to beat. We know that it's a tough environment against a very good team, as they always are. So not taking anything for granted, not taking anything lightly. But we know it'll be a good game.
How's the health of the team? We've seen Wilson miss a couple games. Kyle was in and out, and then Adrian Perez saw him taken off early last Saturday. What does availability look like this week?
Yeah, Wilson will be back involved in some capacity. Kyle will be involved in some capacity, and then AP, it's looking more like a longer-term injury. So we're still having some conversations with our team of doctors, and then we'll make a decision probably by early next week on what that treatment looks like moving forward. But we'll expect to be without him for quite a bit of time.
And then lastly, the news yesterday that FIFA has listed Louisville and the club here as a potential team-based campsite for a World Cup team in 2026. Can you give some perspective about this facility in this area? What makes it an ideal place to train, and just sort of the honor to be listed among these are top facilities, top markets in the country.
Yeah, my initial thought was I'm not surprised at all, because I've seen the investment that our ownership group has put into the infrastructure here. It's an amazing city that I've said before I think is extremely underrated. But teams, the best teams in the world will have an opportunity to utilize their camp here. And for me, with regard to the fields, the infrastructure, as I've said, the community, it would be a great place for teams to come. And again, I think when you look at it from a global perspective, this is an unbelievable training ground, and I'm glad that we were on that list, because our ownership group and the community and everybody at the club deserve it. Good.